but just to discuss our kind of overall feelings towards it, I thought it was almost precisely what I was looking for. I felt that it was a good return to form. While, going in with proper expectations is important, this is not going to be AC Unity revamped. It's nothing like that. It is a game made with all of the Valhalla tools, all the Valhalla animations and everything, but they've done a bunch of tweaking to heavily encourage stealth above everything else, to encourage more intentional movement instead of just running forward while holding A. They want you to kind of play with the parkour a little bit more. And while parts of it did feel outdated or like a little stiff, like some of the cutscenes and conversations you can have with characters, I thought overall it was what I was looking for. It's not going to win any Game of the Year awards, I don't think. It's not going to blow anybody away that much. But in terms of like a lean, mean, quick little Assassin's Creed trip down memory lane, I think it's very successful in that. What were your opinions? What did you feel?
Yeah, and I want to like start with one thing you actually said in your video, that in terms of graphics, it wasn't that. Yeah, you weren't like blown away by that, but I think that was because, to give people like context, you were like playing via a stream, so they were streaming it from, I'm not sure where the machines were like stored, but they were streaming it to your home, while I was invited to go to the studio in France, so that was like closer for me than for you, so I could actually like play the game on a PC like next to me, and it was really, really pretty. Like I do feel it feels like that jump, like a bigger jump from Valhalla.
Just to
So
clarify, when I said that in the video, like obviously I wasn't critiquing the game's graphics based on like compressed video coming to me. I only wrote that part of the script when I got the full game capture that they captured natively on the computer in Dallas, where they were streaming it from. So based on that footage that they captured for me, I didn't feel like, especially in terms of NPCs, faces, skin, that type of thing, I didn't feel like it was a marked improvement over what we saw in Valhalla. I think the art direction is much better. I'm much more pleased with that. But graphically, I don't think that there's a whole lot of new bells and whistles. At least
I still think that if you will finally get to play the game like in front of you without like any compression from like recording, I do think you will be a bit more surprised by. I was at least kind of surprised, because we know this is still running like on an enhanced Valhalla engine, and it's still coming to PS4, Xbox One. So I wanted to start with that. I thought it was I was pleasantly surprised, and because like a dense city, like you say as well, I do feel they can like make some cool visual enhancements right there. So in terms of like what we played, we of course started with the opening section, a section of the game, and then we transported to Alamut, and that's like you said, it's just really cool to have finally an Assassin's story again. Of course, in the RPG games they touched on stuff like that as well, but yeah, it's different, right? You're in this fortress that is being built from the Hidden Ones. You, as a Basim, you're this sort of apprentice. You're coming in and you're hearing whispers of things that the Order is up to. There are like Easter eggs in this area that I'm not sure if you saw, that you like read all the notes.
I'm not sure. I mean, there were little like hints and nudges, but I'm not sure what you're referring to. So
I'm not gonna spoil it either, but there were some. There are like some notes that are like references to like cool things that happened. So that's pretty awesome, and just like seeing the hooded figures, like seeing like them perform the leap of faith, and you're like looking, and Basim is still like not able to do that at that point in the game. You're like jumping and then just falling in the haystack.
It is like really funny that like Assassin's Creed as a franchise is at a point now where we're like, yeah, it's crazy. In the game, like the main characters are all assassins. Isn't that crazy? Because in Valhalla, they're literally like, there are two characters back at your base that you occasionally talk to, and like and then at the end of the game they kind of tie them in a little more. But
you can ignore that part like completely. Like you can't just like not build the Hidden Ones bureau in your settlement and just not do that part for like 50 hours.
They just live out of a tent. It's fine. Yeah, it's so funny that's where we are. But In terms of the tone of the story, how did you feel that was? For me, I mentioned in my video, I believe we kept it in. We might have trimmed it out, but at least in my notes, I said that I felt the sections that I saw were pretty stiff and a little dry. It didn't feel like there was a lot of contrast in the characters and in the dialogue and everything. Everything was super brooding and serious. We have to get here and there. And I thought that could get a little old over the course of a 20-hour campaign. But what were your feelings?
My surprise and kind of takeaway was immediately, damn, I don't like this Basim. I loved him in Valhalla. He was like this mysterious character. Obviously, like he changes over the course of Mirage, and in Valhalla he's actually a different person. But when you see him like get off that boat at the start of Valhalla, you're like, I want to know more about this guy. And then of course later on in the story you have this campfire scene where like that was one of the best moments in that game. And yeah, you learn way more about him, and like it's just really, really cool and mysterious. And obviously I'm not gonna spoil Valhalla for people who haven't finished it, but there's like way more going on with this guy. And in Mirage, obviously he's like way younger at the start, but I don't know, he really lacked that sort of, he was like really trying to be cool, and he felt to me as if the dialogue was written like no one would say that out loud or something. He was like really, it really felt like he was performing this character. And I also feel like Roshan, of course, I'm not sure what her name is, but like fantastic actress who's of course doing that role. And I even felt like some of the NPCs that Basim talks to, it kind of makes it extra clear that for whatever reason, Basim is like, I just can picture him in the studio talking to a wall, delivering these lines instead of like being like talking to someone else. And I don't think we've seen like a lot of that in our videos because it's just not a lot of fun to like show you a scene or something. But I do hope that over the course of the game, I grow to like him more. Right now, he just did. There was not a flavor about him. He was like very, one-dimensional. He was just saying weird things. That was like, nobody says that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the lines that he delivered were not really great. And then you have Roshan who's like talking about like her backstory, and then it's like, you killed someone or something. Like it's just, I don't know. It's like hard to obviously like talk about it here, but I don't know. I wasn't like sold on him as a character yet, and I hope that evolves over the course. Like Bayek, I was in from moment one. Yeah, and here I'm like, who is this guy, and who is he trying to be? Like that was kind of my take.
I agree, and maybe in the context of the full game, we'll get it, and it'll all come together. But it feels like whether you look at the Fry siblings in Syndicate, or you look at Bayek in Origins, or I mean, many. I think Connor is probably the only other character that's perhaps as dry. But this time around, it felt just there's no other way to put it. Just like you said, myopic, dry. It felt very one-dimensional. We are assassins and we kill people and fight the order, and that's like there was nothing else. There was very little personality that I saw.
And he had like a huge vocabulary for this guy who's like a street thief. Like he was like saying words, and I was like, what is he even saying? It's
like, oh yes, they're clearly pontificating what they should do next. Like, bro, you were eating out of a dumpster 10 minutes ago. Like what? So yeah, I agree that that's something I am hoping is remedied with more exposure, and once we see more of it, we'll get it. But as of right now, my impression of the story was like, I like the theme, but the minutia and the individual conversations, I'm really not digging. It's the opposite for me of Starfield. Like, or Valhalla. Yeah, exactly.
And in Valhalla, it was like, okay, this game is 100 hours. There are like the amount of dialogue that is there is insane. So even though it was part of the main story, that's of course the biggest flaw from Valhalla, that we had to do all these story arcs. But it at least was like, okay, I get that this story arc did not get the same love as this story arc where we actually are with Basim and have some cool motion capture cutscenes, etc., etc. But this is like different. Like, I'm used to these like these older Assassin's Creed games to have a lot of motion capture or like cutscenes that look like very human, like and just that are very well acted. And right now there are these moments here and there that we saw, but overall you're still having those same I'm standing still and I'm talking with my mouth like this
And then
conversations,
the hand
and that's
gesture.
yeah, the same hand gesture as Eivor. And then when you're like angry, you're like, bro, like it's always the same. And it's like, sure, for these RPGs, I get it, but I wish they would have improved it more for a game that is very narrative focused.
Well, and for me,
Um,
I mean, just because it's pertinent to me, it feels like another step back, kind of like what Starfield did versus Fallout 4. In Odyssey, they had a really cool like cinematic camera for conversations, and I thought it looked really good. Their animation system worked really well in that. Valhalla, they walked that back almost entirely, and then in Mirage they've also walked it back almost entirely, and it feels really weird because now they just kind of mainly do the thing where like the camera is spinning on a pivot around the two characters talking, and it just feels way worse, and I don't know why they traded that off or cut it, because it was one of the best things about Odyssey's conversations and side quests and stuff is that they all had the same production value as the main story quest lines, in terms of that little element. But
yeah.
who knows
Yeah,
why.
but let's talk about some things we actually liked,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're pretty I mean, I still like left the demo and I was like, give me this full game now. But I just do think what you also said, that you have to set your expectations right. Like you have to go in expecting this to be a, I said it in my video, a beefed up Valhalla DLC that's not really doing it justice, but in some cases it feels like that. There are a lot of elements that we saw in Valhalla, like small UI things. The cat animation is the same when petting a cat.
Mhm.
The pickpocketing is the same as the advanced assassination, where you like do the quick time event. But what, like, it is also, I think, the most impressive part about it is that with these constraints, with them having to work with these Valhalla tools, they did a really good job still making this as close to an old school Assassin's Creed experience as I think maybe could be with these constraints they had.
Yeah.
So I think, for example, the tools, having those back is such a huge thing. Like just having way more ways. Like in Valhalla, all the things you could do were the whistle to get the guy to come over. You could like shoot some like things in the environment that would then fall on the enemy, stuff like that. But here you can like, okay, how am I gonna approach this? I can like throw the noisemaker there, so the target goes over there, and then I can like walk up to the other guy, chain assassinate. I can use the throwing knife. I can like set a trap over here, then do the whistle, so the guy will go and be down by the trap. There are many ways to approach a situation, which is really cool. And I want to hear your thoughts on the stealth. But for me, as a more like, I was really curious about the combat. I thought it was really fun to see all the videos that went live at the embargo, and my content was a lot like, I'm just gonna run in and see how well I can do, because they said Basim is way like not as strong as an Eivor, so you're gonna have a harder time. So I was curious about that. We'll talk more about that, but I thought it was really cool that the tools can actually be used in combat as well.
Yeah.
So they are very versatile, which is awesome.
Yeah, I found myself playing it in a very different way than I certainly played Valhalla. I found myself like trying to do the assassination in a very covert way. Then I might get spotted by somebody, so then I run off. I kind of reset and make them kind of forget about me, and then I try entering into the camp again to take on the target again. And that was something I haven't done in a while with an Assassin's Creed game. Normally, you run in there. If you get spotted, okay, well, time to just take out swords and start hacking and slashing. And so it was kind of weird to be back in an Assassin's Creed game where you like don't want to be detected. But it felt good. I felt, and you can offer your extended thoughts on it since it sounds like you experimented with it a lot, but I found myself when I got jumped, it felt like melee combat was viable for one or two guys, but when the whole base started to descend, it was not a good idea to stay. That's when smoke bombs went down and I ran out. So it's clear they're pushing you towards stealth, but I don't know. Maybe you found a way to make melee more viable. What did you find?
Yeah. I wanna touch on that, but real quick, I thought one of the things that I actually that ended up not in my video, but I do want to hear your thoughts on it. Like, I do think, obviously, if you look at the core stealth system, like they did improve some stuff, like the enemy detection is better. I love the fact that the eagle vision is back and that you can just have it on like unlimitedly and just see like where the enemies are looking, what is in the environment. It's like way more natural, just way cooler than the bird that I just rarely used.
It's just straight out of Far Cry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. But on the other hand, like we also have like rumors about like the next Assassin's Creed, like Codename Red, and how they're really trying to implement some things from Splinter Cell, like having to extinguish like the torches to stay in the dark, and how like actually staying in the shadow will also help you. I really feel that we kind of need these features at some point, because the moment I was still whistling and waiting for the guy to come, I think we're desperate for more stealth core elements, and the tools help, but I just want more just that improves the core of the stealth.
Yeah.
Instead, and Mirage really showed that we need that.
I think perhaps the thing that frustrated me the most, and I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on this, because maybe it was just me or an issue I was seeing. But for me, stealth is almost entirely defined by, maybe not entirely, but it's greatly defined by the AI. How realistically the enemies are reacting to your decisions, to your behaviors, to where you're hiding. They found this guy dead right here. Do they just turn around, walk away, and act like it didn't happen? Or do they stay there until they've discovered why this person's dead? All of that matters to me, and I felt as though, time and time again, I felt the AI in Mirage was not behaving the way I would have expected it to. It wasn't always dumb, because there were some things it was doing that felt good or decent even, but there were a handful of times where I was doing something like I peek out from a corner, 2 of the 3 guys see me and start getting aggroed and attacking me, and the other one right next to them isn't aggroed and just stands there doing nothing. So was that something you also experienced, or was that just me?
I just haven't toyed around with it that much. When I was like being spotted, it was like very obvious. So I did not experience that a lot. I do feel that with the Assassin's Focus ability, the sort of teleporting, it is like kind of hard to know if the final target, because you will like select a few targets and then you will jump between them, but you will appear at the location of the final target. And that's how, I'm not sure if you saw it, how I teleported to the top of a roof. So I did like a Shadow of Mordor type situation. But then you will be in that spot, and I thought it was hard for me to then understand, okay, but who is there? Because it's like pretty far away. Will I then be detected? And that, sometimes happened, but then it was just because I did not see the guy behind the wall that when I teleported there. But apart from that, I thought that it was pretty... I was on my toes. Like, I didn't want to make like real weird like actions where I was like, are they going to... I'm not gonna like gamble it. I'm not gonna like try it. I'm gonna like stay. But overall, I was more going for that. Okay, let's see how this goes. Okay, it doesn't go well. Let's kill everyone.
Yeah.
So
we'll see. I mean, the reason, going back to I believe it's Nerd Rage's or Nerdridge and his super chat asking about polish and things like that. For me, it felt like probably a technical issue with AI behaving so strangely, because other times they did not act that way. All of them would get aggroed once one was aggroed, and kind of the whole base would be detected or would detect me. So the fact that sometimes it didn't work that way made me feel like in those cases it just wasn't working properly.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair for me to be like, therefore the AI sucks, when in reality it was like 2 out of 7 times where it didn't behave correctly in an early access demo build, you know? So
Yeah,
I think
limited
it's
time played.
yeah, limited time played, and it's also like we said, it's a build potentially even before they went gold, but certainly before they've finalized like day one patches and improvements
Yeah.
and stuff. So it very well could improve. We will
Yeah.
just have to see.
We got another super chat. I'm not sure if you saw it.
Samaya, is
Yeah.
it bad that just seeing not being detected as an objective made me so happy?
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, I think that's okay. It's okay. I mean, I do think one of the little changes that I actually really, really liked was that kind of field of view cone that they let you see in Eagle Vision of the enemies that helps you kind of not just figure out where they are, but also where they're looking on just a quick glance. And it just reaffirms again that stealth is kind of what they're focusing on this time around.
Yeah, and what's being referred to here is like the contracts. So the side contracts that you do, where you can just like complete them. You have to be like assassinate this target or steal this or something like that. But there is like this side objective, this optional thing, where if you do it without like being detected or without killing anyone, stuff like that, then you get like extra loot at the end. So it's kind of like a way to push you to play that way, but you don't have to. To be fair, there was also in Wrath of the Druids. That was the DLC that this team made before that. But yeah, in Valhalla, yeah, you were not really like doing that anyway. So it is cool that they're like really focused on that part for sure. And I do think it will push people to like replay the mission because damn, I want to get that second objective as well.
Yeah,
It's kind of cool. But yeah, talking about the combat, I it was hard starting because Basim has completely new moves, and like you said, they don't do a lot of damage. And for example, like usually, like for example, Eivor is a great example with the axes. For example, when you hit an enemy, they kind of flinch and go back, and so you can immediately like follow up with more hits, like do your full combo. In Mirage, very often the enemies will just block your attack or will be in the middle of an attack, and maybe the heavy attack I wasn't able to like try that much, but the moment you like swing your sword and the enemy is in an animation or just doing something, they will just keep doing that. So you have to get out immediately. So I was like, okay, maybe hitting 2 times, dodging away. And what I really found is that the tools are kind of OP. So there's, for example, this enemy that you can only attack from the back, and every assassination is a one-hit kill, apart from one enemy that I will touch on in a moment. But yeah, fighting this brute guy 1v1, you have to be smart. You have to find a way to get behind his back, and one of the ways to do that is throw like a noisemaker, or because noisemakers have like effects that they can like put fear into an enemy so they will run away or whatever, so they can just walk up to them and assassinate them. And I actually found that throwing the smoke bomb in the middle of a group has you able to assassinate everyone in that smoke bomb for like a few seconds, so you can like take out 2 targets.
they all get kind of stun locked. Yeah.
No, they're like coughing and stuff like that, and also you have the lost known position, of course, again, so you know, okay, that is where the enemies will start looking, and you also know, okay, I can hide now and I will probably be fine. And that then also happens when you throw the smoke bomb down. So then, yeah, you're hidden, quote unquote, so you can assassinate everyone. And throwing knives, of course, is great. You can use the blow dart that you usually use to put enemies to sleep. You can also use that in combat. So then they just fall asleep on the street while chasing you, and they can walk up to them and not assassinate them, but put your sword like in their back. Really cool animation. So they really made it's really like a sort of high risk, high reward situation. Like you will still die from 3 hits or something. So you have to be super careful. But if you parry it right, every regular enemy can then be counterattacked. So similar to the older games as well, where yeah, you parry, bam, immediately you kill them. So that's very satisfying. And yeah, using those tools will like deplete their sort of stamina bar or whatever they have. And if that is also empty, you can also walk up to them and kill them. So it's kind of, I really had to rethink my approach, but it was very cool because there's like this wanted system, the notoriety system, where if you steal and someone catches you, or when you like pickpocket, and you have like the quick time events, but you miss. The guy's like, what the heck? I'm be like, someone is like trying to steal my stuff. So they turn around and point towards you, and then the guards close by will come to attack you, or archers on the roof will also start looking for you. And then like level 3 is that there's like this mercenary, which we all saw in Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, where you hear the horn, it's like, "Rrrr," and then you know, okay, there's now this like pretty tough enemy that is just gonna, it's like a ninja, it's like high health ninja that's like immediately going to charge towards you. He will kill you in like 2 hits, and when you like do some damage, he will drink a potion, health is like full again. So you really have to be smart to kill that person, or maybe earlier in the game it's smarter to run away, because we were already like kind of beefed up in terms of the tools we could use.
Yeah.
But I think earlier in the game you have to be careful. So I thought the combat was actually kind of surprising, but I do think that for a lot of people, and especially early on, it's smart to avoid it, because it's gonna be hard to survive.
Yeah, I agree. It's all told, I think the combat system, the melee, has been revamped is a weird word for it, but it's been adjusted because they clearly want you to focus on using your tools and the stealth. My feelings were the same as yours. I feel like most of the tools are really OP, especially the smoke bombs, which, I mean, you throw those things down, you can get away with literally anything. They just
can be upgraded.
Smoke. Oh, they can be upgraded to
heal you when you like stand in the smoke.
Oh, well, there you go. So we'll see how the balance works, but my feeling was with those smoke bombs, after the first couple of missions that we did, or objectives we did, I felt like these things were pretty broken. So I started trying to find ways to take down targets without using them, because if you do use them, I mean, it's literally just chuck it, boom, pop, they're stunned, assassinate, leave, boom, pop, stun, assassinate, leave, with very little dynamics there. Maybe there's characters that will be highly resistant to it or something.
Yeah, I hope so. But to be fair, I thought that actually like spamming your tools, like you only have like a limited amount, and maybe when you start the game you have even less than what we had.
Yeah.
So I thought I actually saw that I was like running out of tools all the time, because I was using them a lot in combat. And then one blow dart to put one enemy to sleep. If you only have like 5 of these like darts, then you run out of them fast. So I was actually looking for vendors to buy new tools, and I can't remember the first time I went to a vendor in Valhalla. It was like, what are they even selling? Like, I don't know, like some tattoos, I think. So you went there maybe once to buy everything.
That's a good question, that's a good point. I think that they've really tried this time around to make everything interconnected, and that's I think important to note, just because in previous games, like, they gave you a ton of crap that you could sift through, and you could only engage with what you really wanted to. But this time around, there is so much stuff that, like, or rather, everything is so interconnected that I think most players will engage with most things. So, like, one of the things they introduced were these Kidma tokens, which I put up on screen for those of you that are listening from home. Basically, these are a currency that can be spent for favors from factions within Baghdad. They can be earned by completing contracts, opening certain chests, or by pickpocketing people in the streets. Now, these are what you will use to, like, pay off a merchant to get information, or to get a special item that you want, or to be able to recruit mercenaries to create a distraction for you, and things like that. And initially when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of underwhelming. I need another currency to do stuff. That's lame. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh wait, no, this is how they encourage you to actively participate in the side content while working through the main story. You could still just blast through the main story, but you're not going to have access to any of these other cool things, like recruiting people to help you, paying off vendors, stuff like that. So to me, it feels like same thing with having limited tools that you go to vendors to resupply at. Also with these tokens, they're trying very hard to create a game where most players engage with most of the systems over the course of their run, and are going to vendors, are doing side missions, completing side activities to get these tokens. And I think that's actually a good thing. It'll be refreshing
Yeah.
to play with everything the game has to offer without getting a
I do
headache.
want to say though, because and that's also where that side contract I talked about. So in every like hidden ones bureau, you have this contract board where you can go to and then do these contracts where you like have to assassinate someone and then remain undetected. So if you also get that second objective, you get more tokens. So that's nice. But what I found though, I'm not sure if you tried to steal a lot in the Mirage. Like I every time I saw a citizen where I saw like the pickpocket prompt, I was like, sure, only cost me 1 second of my time, and I was able to. I want to. Oh, I haven't put it there, and I'm not sure. I think we're not going that long on Mirage yet, but the black box mission. So I was able to buy the hairpin that you have to buy for the black box mission. Don't want to spoil too much, like in terms of who the target is and whatever, but and that was because I was like stealing all the time. So I was like swimming in money, I was swimming in tokens, and I did not do the side content. So I am curious if they will still tweak that because
Yeah.
right now it's insane what you can get by just every time you see a pickpocket from blip, blip. And like it is the quick time event, you can't even turn it off. You can go to the menu and be like, I don't want to do the quick time event. And then it's
Press the
just
button.
probably press the button, get the loot.
I mean, what I'll
And
say is I intentionally did not pickpocket everybody that I saw because I was trying to like role play as a good assassin boy.
fair enough.
And then when I reached that point, because basically, guys, there's a point in this mission we played where you either need like 150.
You're a robber.
Yeah, you're a robber. You're a thief. Like you either need 150 of the currency in the game, or you need one of these tokens. And I didn't have those. So I went around and then started looting boxes. I started looking around for chests. I started hunting down ways I could get that without robbing innocent people in the bazaar like JorRaptor. So I think they probably can balance it. I think that's a good point. Maybe make the spawns for pickpocketing much fewer, or make the payouts less so. But either way, I mean, it was an interesting change that seems designed to encourage you to either be a filthy thief or to engage with side content.
Yeah, you're right. You're right that it's like if you role play, and that's cool. That you like. I'm of course always looking for the quick like I'm
The way
already
to break
thinking in
it.
videos,
Yeah.
right? Like get do this for unlimited money and stuff like that. So I'm already thinking in those things, and I was like, what does this game have to offer? I'm gonna try everything, kill the mercenary that is hunting me, see what that does, etc., etc. Buy everything that I could. Like there was like a really cool outfit you could get from the vendor that I was able to buy because it was like 500 coins, but because I was stealing, I easily got it. So yeah, it's like interesting, but I hope it doesn't like ruin the economy where I have like a lot of these tokens that you otherwise get from side contracts, and I'm like, I'm still gonna do everything, but you don't have to anymore, and that would suck. Then it would be like, okay, but why would I do this side objective when I can just rob 5 guys on the street and then get the same reward? So I hope they look at that and maybe not give us tokens from. Yeah, that's kind of weird that you actually get those tokens from robbing people as well.
Yeah.
But maybe they do that because otherwise they had to make sure that there were enough tokens in the game, etc.
Yeah.
But hey, black box mission. I wanted like that's maybe the final thing, or let's see how it goes. But I'm curious what you thought of that. Like that was of course kind of the so of course in the game you try to find clues, you help people that know stuff, and then you eventually work your way through this sort of order menu to get to one of the main targets. And when you're finally ready with like a lot of information, you're like, okay, the main target is going to be here at this location at this time. I'm going to be there as well. And then we played the bazaar mission. You have to like look for clues to figure out who this target is, and then in the end assassinate them. And I'm curious what you thought of how they approached that and the mission itself.
I liked it. It didn't the portion we played, at least as far as I was able to tell, it didn't feel as varied with options and opportunities and points of interest, or points of access rather, than some of the old designs that we had in, like, say, Unity or even Syndicate, for that matter. It very much felt as though you go in there, you're collecting information, but you're going through the motions. So, like, for example, at one point, there's a couple of women speaking on the second level, on the upper level of the bazaar, and there's no objective markers. There's nothing pointing you there. You're going there and you're trying to discover these things yourself. But at that point, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what to look for. It just said collect information, So I was just walking around, and I happened to stumble on them just walking up the stairs and hearing them discuss this. And I sat down and listened to it. And I thought that was a really cool moment. But I do think for some people, they will find that type of thing frustrating because they will give you a bland, broad, just find information. And a lot of people are going to be like, okay, but like where and how? And the answer is you just kind of have to wander around until you find the thing and kind of stumble upon the thing that has the information. So I think maybe I was missing something. Maybe there's a way that you can figure out that they're up there, and maybe, that could be a good point, a good place to look. Or maybe it's just that I hadn't played the game before, so I wasn't playing it the way the game was expecting me to play it. It could be something where after just a few hours of Mirage, you're kind of accustomed to looking in those nooks and crannies for information, and it will feel second nature to you, and it won't be a big deal at all. But it did feel like an adjustment to how a lot of games handle it nowadays, which is just objective marker, go there, exactly. They leave a lot of it up to the player's own discovery, which was both cool and I think some people will find frustrating as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm for me, I thought that was actually like you had to get used to it, but then eventually, you were kind of like looking for the orange icon, and I do think that just walking around the bazaar, they have placed some things there where, yeah, like you said, you hear something or whatever. Like there's this merchant who says, "Come, check my stuff from the east" or whatever. So oh, maybe the hairpin that this target that we want to kill, yeah, wants
Yeah.
to buy. Maybe he knows more. But my kind of issue was that they, like, usually in like the black box missions you mentioned, there were multiple ways to go about it, and it always felt like when finishing those with like, I wonder what if I did get the key from the cathedral or whatever. What if I did climb all the way up instead of stole it from this guy? Like, what if I did the other thing? And in Mirage, at least the black box mission that we played, I feel that everyone did the exact same things.
Yeah.
There was nothing pointing me to look elsewhere because, again, you don't know really where you have to look. So obviously you're going to look in the sort of busy area that you're like standing in front of. But maybe there were things, but they, were not like really highlighted or whatever. Or the other thing is that there's just nothing else. That this was the way this mission was intended, and that you kind of have this idea that there might be more because you're finding things here and there, but that this is kind of it. And then sort of the ways that things could be different was that, like you said, you did not have the money to buy the hairpin during the auction, so then you just have to steal it, and then you're like 5 minutes, you're stealing it from the person who did buy it, and then you're back on the same track. It really feels like there's one track, and then there are like two side paths, and then the two tracks come together again very quickly. So I bought it. I spent 500 coins on this stupid hairpin, and all it did for me was save me 5 minutes, because otherwise I could have grabbed it. But getting 500 coins takes way more time.
Yeah.
So I was like, I felt kind of like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
So
I agree. And I think you brought up the example of in AC Unity with the like Notre Dame and being able to climb up to get the key from the guy that's locked out upstairs, or you can go in kind of front door barging in or through one of the side windows on the side of the building. And that's just like 3 points of entry. And maybe it is the case. I want to try to be like not conclusive with this, because maybe there were ways to do it that we just didn't find. I haven't heard any from other people that played it. It seems like everybody, like you said, played it the same way. But that for me was something that was a little disappointing, and maybe it's just this one mission that we experienced, but I would hope that with such a stealth focused approach to this, that they would have more ways of taking down targets, gaining entry to areas. Because as of right now, it does feel like, okay, yeah, you paid off this person, but not this person. It ends up the same way, but
Yeah.
it was technically different. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
and there like we had to get entrance to like the sort of lair of like the sort of building that the target was in. And I don't think there was like a window open or something you could have also used. It was very clear that we had to talk to this guard to get a token to get inside. I or otherwise, and if there were more things, I just don't think the game does a great job of showing you that. So
Yeah.
I do think that at least in the first playthrough, everyone will likely do the same thing because that's the most obvious in a sort of world where we just don't have like a lot of options. And that also what you just showed for Unity for people that are listening, like you see at the start, you see the opportunities that you have, and I miss that in Mirage completely.
Yeah.
So something like that would have been cool as well. So yeah, I hope for the other black box missions it's more fleshed out, but it really gave me Siege of Paris vibes, and I was kind of scared for that, where they were also like the black box mission are back and there are so many choices. The first mission was great, had even in my opinion more choices and things that could go versus what I played for Mirage. But then the other ones were also really one-dimensional, and I hope they can surprise us with that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, like we've said before, normally at preview events, they show the best that the game has to offer. So if we are finding this lacking already, then that's potentially concerning. But we've also seen other situations where companies put out an entire demo for a game that costs $200 million to make, and the demo is so bad people cancel their pre-orders. So you just never know. You never know.
Yeah. I just know that, and like I went that far already where I said I'm not expecting it, and I'm still like not expecting it. Like I've been like burned before with this sort of talk where they're like, yeah, there are multiple ways to do it, and then you figure out it's just not that deep. So
Yeah,
I hope I'm
because they
wrong.
come back and they're like, well, but you paid off that guy instead of this guy, so it was different.
And
You're
I
like,
and I asked like Sarah about it, like the narrative director. I asked her what were the other options, and she just could not say like anything that was like where I was like convinced that there was more. She talked about that, yeah, oh, you bought the hairpin. Well, if you don't, then you have to do something else. I was like, awesome. And then I talked to someone at the event, and he was like, yeah, I just like stole the hairpin, and then we did the same thing. So, oh, that is what she was like hyping up is maybe not the right word, but giving me an answer to like that. Sure, there's more stuff. That's why I'm kind of concerned, but
yeah,
we will see. I like to round it out though with our scores that we of course wanted to give at the end, and then like let's give our personal score like after playing it, and then what we think the Metacritic will be. I think that could be fun. Want to go first, or should I go?
ooh, lots of pressure. I think for me, I would say that like my experience with it was, setting aside technical restrictions of like having it streamed and stuff. I thought it felt good to play. It felt like a game that I could enjoy for 15 to 20 hours. A game that I'm looking forward to, especially at a decreased price. I think that is all great.
Yeah.
Like I said at the top, I don't think it's winning any Game of the Year awards. I don't think it's gonna blow anybody away in a massive way, but it'll be a good kind of trip down memory lane. And in that pursuit, I think it'll be successful. So like where I would put it, like my time with the game probably was like an 8 out of 10, just because I was really enjoying going through it. As for Metacritic predictions, I would put it somewhere between like a 78 and 82. I think it's like,
Okay.
I think it's good, but I don't think it'll, like when you think about the average of those scores, there's going to be some like companies and reviewers that play it and just are not about it at all. And then other people will be like, it's the return to form. I really like it. But I think it's all going to average out probably right around 80, probably a little lower.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like in the actually in the same boat. I think the Metacritic might be like 77. That's kind of where I'm feeling it right now. Unless like the story is really surprising, because I don't want to like talk about it here. And the narrative director again, who I interviewed, she didn't want to talk about it, but there are some like cool Assassin's Creed lore related things with Alamut, for example, the Hidden One's fortress, and some teases already. And I overall think that, again, we're not like really like impressed by the performance of Basim yet, and maybe some of the dialogue, but still the sort of what they showed in that story trailer, like the sort of high level thing where it's like this guy, Basim, who wants to join this the Hidden Ones, and then kind of like let them like decide what he is going to do. And then at one point his outside friends are like, what kind of freedom is it if you're like constantly doing what they tell you to do? And then maybe he will start questioning the Hidden One's beliefs, and if he should continue with this, next to the fact that he's also being slowly consumed, because we of course had the confession room when you like kill a target. And I think it's awesome that they seem to end with this mythical creature, this Jinn, like slowly getting closer to Basim and giving him these, like he's slowly becoming someone else. And I think that could be really cool. So I'm curious what type of direction that will take. I am curious. I would not be surprised if it's like the opening will really talk about that, and then the big part in Baghdad will just be go kill these targets, and then every time you kill a target, you maybe have like one cutscene about it, and then at the end it will go crazy again.
Yeah,
kind of like Valhalla. But I do think that could be what maybe elevates this game more than just the cool Back to the Roots title. But I would say my experience was also an 82. I did like the combat a lot. And my expectations are now, it was really what I expected, but the tools were way cooler than I anticipated. I was like, only 5 tools, but because they can be upgraded in multiple ways, because they have multiple uses, because you're constantly like, okay, I'm not gonna use the tool here because I might need it later on. So I think that's what I really missed in the RPG games, where you were like, all the abilities are on cooldowns. I'm just gonna run in, heal myself, use your harpoon to throw everyone off. Like, you were like a god, and now you really have to like think of it in a different way, which is exciting to me.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think we're both generally positive. There's concerning things that maybe they'll improve, maybe they won't, but we shall find out. I mean, in just a few short weeks. So we're on our way.
Yeah, that's crazy.